Okay, we're recording. So once again, this is Joe Bullis, your clinical coach for MELS 602, and it is February the 6th in 2019. This class was originally scheduled for Monday, and as I mentioned a few moments ago before we started recording, got quite a bit of a remodeling project going on here at the house this week, and it just wasn't a good night for me to have that meeting, and I apologize. That's putting my convenience above yours. I hope you understand, and I do apologize for that. But it just wasn't going to be able to happen that night. Plus, had a board meeting, a long board meeting night Monday night too. So it was a hectic night. So thank you for understanding. If you'd like to share your concern about that in any way, I'm always approachable. Please give me an email and let me know. So tonight, not going to be a long one unless you have a lot of questions. I just wanted to on the agenda go over internship Blackboard shell, and then talk a little bit about Aptil Task 2, which I feel like don't need to do a lot of review on the Blackboard because I'm already having some of you submit things and following the process that we established in 601. Just go ahead and review this again one more time just to make sure everybody's feeling good about it. And then if there's anybody that has any questions, once again, you just contact me separately. But you've got some resources over here. All of the videos that I'm doing for each of my interns in 2019 is listed here, and you'll find them in the appropriate folder. I send out an email to everyone with a link to a recording of the video, but I also house it here too, just for another place that you can access. Just remember, once again, if you get your task, your peer review completed, and your task in good shape, and I'm not sure if Dr. Neal requires you to wait for her approval before you send it to me. If she does, that's great. If she doesn't, that's great too. But once you finish that peer review process, you submit your task to me for review. I will give you feedback, and then if there's any revision necessary, you'll have the opportunity to revise. And then once you revise, you can submit it for a grade as we move our way towards making it one final document and getting it ready to submit to TaskStream. So you submit it here for review under the review tab, and then we engage in that process of giving feedback and making revisions. And once it's ready there, I will tell you to drop it into the evaluation Dropbox, which is here for the Aptil. You drop it in there, and I will give you a grade. And once that task has been graded and completed there, you just hold on to it until we move our way all the way through the rest of the task. And then after task 4, put all the tasks together in one flowing document, one title page, one reference page, one appendix, if need be, and then you submit it to turn it in your final answer evidence narrative here. So feel like that's old news for all of you, but it's always good to kind of give it another review just to make sure everybody's fresh on that. Any questions at this point in time?
I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm up on the Lamb and Sumner. Do I put my Aptil Task 1 clinical coach? Is that up under you, or do I put it up under there? That's what I'm confused at.
Okay, David, I appreciate that question. So you're in Dr. Sumner's class and Dr. Lamb. I believe you're on my roster, or you wouldn't have got the email. So in submitting your task, you would submit them to me under this course shell. Have you got access to this course shell?
Yeah, I have access to to yours.
Okay.
And because I was with you in the fall,
Right.
and you had on the up under your link it had clinical coach. But when we had to submit something on Sunday, but I went in and did it under the other one. And so that's where I was kind of confused at when you said that, because I noticed I was up under you as my clinical coach,
Hmm.
but I put it up under the other one. So, I'm kind of confused a little bit about which one I'm supposed to get one from,
Right.
just an
Yeah.
evaluation.
Right. Okay. For completing the APTIL task, have you completed? And I've gave feedback on some of them that have submitted. I just can't remember who they all are at this point in time. But have you submitted task 1 yet?
Yes, I did it for up under the Sumner. I went up under that one,
Okay.
and they told me that one of my group told me to go up under artifacts. Theirs is a little different than yours. It was on the artifacts drop box, and so I did that, and then I saw apps of tasks, but it didn't say. I don't think it says clinical coach evaluation. It said apps of tasks, and I put it up under that one.
Okay. I don't know that, but you have, so you're, that's probably the course shell that you have with Dr. Sumner. And I tell you what part of the problem may be, David, is originally, according to Dr. Lamb's plan, I guess for lack of a better word, for this semester, this cohort, 602 cohort, was originally supposed to go with Dr. Sumner, but that got changed during the registration process to go with Dr. Neal. Now, have you been meeting with Dr. Neal for class, for coursework?
It's been Sumner, and no, I haven't.
Okay.
Neil, it's been Sumner, and then I think I've been getting a lot of information from. I think it's Pickard. Is it?
Okay.
Pickard? Yeah, Steve Pickard or something like that.
Yeah,
So
Dr. Pickard. Okay.
right.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because of that mix-up. They may have been under the original plan. There may have been a shell built in um, inadvertently and hasn't been deleted. But for you, just go into my core shell. I'm gonna, if you will, send me an email to remind me of this, because I'm gonna make some phone
Okay.
calls tomorrow and track this down. But
Okay.
just, I know that you're one of my interns and you're on my roster. So yeah, just go ahead and you know where to find my internship shell
Right. I
platform.
know to find yours at and
Yeah,
everything. And
yeah.
so
And
I'll email you.
I'll get the rest of that cleared out, because you should just submit to your course instructor and me. There shouldn't be anybody else that you should be dealing with. And I think it's all coming out of that mistake
Okay.
or glitch that happened during the registration process. But I'll work on that tomorrow, and then we'll get it sorted out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for letting me know about that. Is there anybody else in that situation that's online tonight? If there are, just send me an email too and let me know, and we'll get this sorted out. May not. We'll start the process tomorrow. It may be Friday or next week before it all gets taken care of, but we'll certainly start the process. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. So unless there's any other questions about this, I'm going to move into just kind of doing a little overview of task 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up the scale book, and the job that you did in task 1, and remember, this is all about teacher empowerment, uh, teacher efficacy, things of that nature, looking for shared decision making in the school, and did the teachers feel like they're part of the leadership of the school, and within certain areas. And so you did a lot of research on empowerment and efficacy and things of that nature, and kind of listed some of the best practices. May have come out of the teacher working condition survey as well. But some of those best practices let someone know that school is a collaborative shared leadership school. If that's the case, then there's some things that should be able to recognize as you look at a school. So you did a literature review on that. Once you did a literature review, now whether it was a checklist that you're using that Marizano, I saw somebody use a checklist that Marizano created, or you created your own checklist from your research, but a survey, a checklist that a physical form, or of course it could be done electronically too, but a usable document of some kind that you can go and say, I did a literature review on best practices. From that literature review, I've created um, this check of some things that I should see in the building that supports the best practices that I researched. And now you take that checklist and you take that document and you actually, our survey, or whatever it is that you formed, you take that and you apply it to your school. And once you apply it to your school, you talk about how you gathered that data, whether it was you and your PLC team went out and visited some classrooms, or went out and looked about the school, taking that checklist, checking those things off, whether your team pulled in the teacher working condition survey and you analyzed that. The results on the last teacher working condition survey, or whether you sent out a survey of your own creation to gauge where in each of those categories, in each of those areas, where your school is at in teacher empowerment. So you, in your narrative, describe that process that and how you use that checklist, and then you look at the data. You look at the data and you analyze that data to look for gaps in each of the identified areas. And they're here: building efficacy empowerment among staff, results-oriented professional development, recruitment and placement and mentoring school staff, approaches for evaluation of school staff, teacher leadership and decision making. So you look at the data you're collecting, and where does your school stand in each of these areas? And then you look for those gaps, and you draw attention for the reader of what those gaps are. Then, kind of like the APSL last semester, once you identify all those gaps, the next step is you're going to create an action plan to address those gaps. So it's the same type of process in the APSL, just in a different theme, if you will. So you satisfactorily describe that data collection strategies and findings and process that you used a checklist, and how you analyzed your environment based on the best practices that you researched in task one. Then make sure that you cite all of those resources, that you refer back to those best practices in your narrative for each of the identified areas, and you properly cite those according to APA. And then you show that analysis. You show that information. If it's a teacher working condition survey, they've got the bar graph that you can show. That's not a mandate of this, but I always think it helps to have graphics. And then you show the gaps that of what best practices there should be going on in your school, and how your school measures up to those, and identify any needs that you're going to address in task 3. And that's basically what there is to do with task 2. Are there any questions on that?
I have a question, Dr. Bullis.
Yes, sir.
I see right here where it says the candidate analyzes the gap analysis to create a needs assessment. Is the needs assessment, can you just explain what that is briefly?
Yeah, basically what the needs assessment is just the process of and the narrative of what you did in analyzing that information and the gaps that you identified. It's basically just looking at the data and then determining what are your big areas that you're going to address in the next task. And thanks, Alan. I appreciate that comment, because it reminded me to say something. in this, it does say that the candidate does this. Some people have utilized their team, their former PLC team from the APSL to help them in this process. That's up to you. If you want to do it on your own, you certainly can. There's nothing that says it has to be done with the PLC team. If you want to utilize the PLC team just to kind of show some more leadership competency and facilitating a group, or to kind of help you get through all this and do it, I think it makes for a strong document as well. But that's up to you. That either way is fine. Any other questions? Okay, and any other questions going on about your course or this semester that I can help you with?
I have a quick question, but
Sure.
I think it might be. I'm wondering if I did my checklist incorrectly for my task 1.
Uh-huh.
Like I thought, was it not like a walkthrough checklist, or is it a overarching checklist for your school?
No, it can be a walkthrough checklist too, Brittany. And I apologize if I kind of miscommunicated that. No, it can be a walkthrough checklist as long as it addresses those best practices that you kind of researched further. Then you can use that as a walkthrough. Certainly can.
Okay.
Yeah. Any instrument. That was the word I was trying to look at trying to find a while ago. Any instrument research instrument that you choose to use based on those best practices that helps you identify where your school is at within these areas here is fine. Any instrument. It can be a walkthrough. It can be a survey. It can be a snapshot. That was another word I was trying to think of.
Dr. Billis, I have a question.
Yes.
When we're doing the gap analysis, are we looking at everything we see as a gap and trying to find a way to address it? Or are we picking one particular area? Like, for example, I see an area of need when it comes to our new teachers, helping maintain this, get them supported and mentored and that kind of thing. I think we have a real gap there. Can we focus in on one thing, or do we need to? I know we have to address all of them, but do we have to provide a way to solve everything, or just one?
That's a great question, Sandy, and it's up to you, and you just think of it as being in a principal's shoes. Is what's the top priority of your school, and what's going to be best for your school, and if what's best for your school and a crisis, and that may be too strong a word, but a top need that you as an administrator, you're thinking, well, I want to tackle this first. I want to focus my efforts on this first. And then once we kind of get a plan of this, then we can address some of these other things. That's fine. Just write that up in your narrative of your thought process of why you chose to just focus in on this area. Yeah, you address them all. You identify the gaps and all, and depending on what you see, you could do a plan for all of it. Or if you got a high priority situation and want to just focus in on that, then that's certainly acceptable. Just kind of let the reader know how you arrived at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good questions tonight. I appreciate the thought that you guys are putting into this, and your mindfulness with it as well. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask another question, Dr. Bullis. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. No, that's what we're here for.
Just to make sure I'm understanding everything correctly. So just for instance, I gave a survey today to the staff, and I'm going through the survey results, and I can basically, there's obvious areas that statements, associated with each of these 5 categories that have identified some gaps. So in my analysis here, do I just need to go through, like I guess Cindy was just saying, and focus on those gap areas, or do I need to focus on all of the questions or statements that I included?
No, just the ones that you think are significant and need to be addressed. Just and as you said, just the gaps. And in Cindy's case, apparently there's a pretty prevalent need in one specific area, and she's choosing to focus in on that. If you're seeing some different things that you want to focus in on, but just the gaps that you recognize, just some areas of needs that you recognize that you think would be a good place for you to focus your efforts for this semester.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. If it doesn't and you think about it and you're thinking, what did he say or what does he mean by that? Contact me later, okay?
Okay.
And as always, if you want to, kind of Zoom with me privately, that's fine. We can, lunchtime. I usually eat lunch at my desk. I can hit it at lunchtime if that's congruent to your schedule. If not, we'll make another part. But if you want me to look at some specifics, or before you even submit anything into the review tab, you say, you want my feedback on this is what I've got, this is what I'm thinking about, what do you think? And a lot of times that helps. I can look at the specifics, I can see what you're seeing, and I can maybe give you better advice. And Alan, if you want to do that, if you want to send that to me and just kind of say, well, this is what I'm thinking right now, what are your thoughts? I'll be happy to let you know what I think.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm working on typing everything up right now. So
sure, whenever you're ready, that's fine. That's up to you.
Hey, Dr. Bullis, it's Rose.
Hey,
and
Rose,
I had like a similar. Hey, good. How are you?
Great, thank you.
That's good. I was just calling because I've been surveying the staff too, and I noticed a really huge need for teachers don't feel prepared in the class. But my school already has systems in place to really help teachers, but none of those are working. So I'm kind of thinking I don't know how to help. If that makes sense, but that's the biggest need.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering, what do you do in a situation where it's the biggest need, but there's systems already in place in the school for that need?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's a good question. Do you feel comfortable having that conversation with your principal?
Yes.
I think that would be a good place to start. I think that you share this information with the principal and kind of let them know what you're seeing and what, maybe what's already in place isn't working. Maybe could be a professional development plan that's just not getting the job done. Then have a conversation. It's not anything that you have to implement this semester. It's something that
right.
That's part of this task, or that's part of this evidence, is seeing these things, seeing these needs in the classroom, and then making recommendations to the leadership. So that even a conversation with your principal, what you just told me, is something that you should write into your narrative, and then kind of write how that conversation occurred and what came out of that conversation. I'm sure your principal would be appreciative of that information.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're very welcome. Any other questions or anything else I can help you guys with? Okay, remember, you can always contact me, shoot me an email. If we need to have a phone conversation, that'll be fine. If it's better for you to do after school, certainly we can set that and arrange that as well. I just want to be here for you and help you as much as I can and make it a good, easy semester well, I don't think you can say easy semester, might not be the best word to say, but make it an effective semester for you. Well, and in case there's any other questions, or unless there's any other questions, I'm going to sign off. I hope you all have a good evening and stay safe and healthy, and your family stay safe and healthy. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you for the good questions.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.